Welcome back to Have You Seen with Nick.
And Lance.
As you might have seen in our last video, today we're watching Bedazzled, starring Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley. Because, Lance, I heard you hadn't seen Bedazzled.
I had not seen Bedazzled, and in fact, this was the first Brendan Fraser movie I had seen.
Really?
Yeah,
You've never watched Brendan Fraser before?
No, I've seen him in TV shows like Scrubs and other things, but I've not seen a movie he's done.
Really?
Yeah.
You never seen, like, Encino Man?
Nope. George of the Jungle?
The Mummy movies?
Nope.
The Mummy movies are pretty good, but...
For somebody who loves movies as much as I do, I watch a lot of really obscure movies, or a lot of not necessarily low budget, just not super popular movies.
Yeah.
And so...
That's really surprising, because Brendan Fraser's been in a lot of kind of other movies and things. Are you just not into Pauly Shore? Because he did have a lot of breakaway hits at his early career with Pauly Shore, and I know that was a big turnoff for a lot of people.
I don't think it was ever like intentional. I'm not going to watch Brendan Fraser. It just never crossed my path.
Yeah.
It's like there's a ton of like popular movies like Wedding Crashers. I've never seen Wedding Crashers.
Wedding Crashers is a great movie.
Yeah, everybody says that. I haven't seen it.
I think you would enjoy the humor of Wedding Crashers.
I saw
and the redhead. It has a redhead, Tim. You'll enjoy Lance.
Yeah.
You'll enjoy the redhead.
I do enjoy redheads. I was about to say I just saw 40-Year-Old Virgin not too long ago for the first time,
movie.
but it was because Lance made me, but I'm Lance, so it's because I made me.
You made yourself.
I made Tim watch it.
You made Tim watch it. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
But so we watched Bedazzled,
Bedazzled.
2000. Brendan Fraser, Elizabeth Hurley.
Elizabeth Hurley.
In her prime.
She can get it.
Oh, yeah.
To steal a phrase from another YouTuber, she could totally get it. If she wants to come play the devil in my house and spank me, please do so. Just call.
You had seen this movie before. I haven't.
Yes.
We watched it together, and you didn't give me thoughts on the movie, but I know you have enjoyed the movie.
Yes. So you had the predisposition that this is a movie that I have enjoyed in the past.
So for ratings, guess the rating here. I guessed you gave it about a 6. Better than average, but it's not the best movie ever, but it's funny and it's something you enjoy.
Yeah.
You would watch it again.
Yes. You're actually very close to what I would give it. I would actually give it a 7 because it is a film that not only do I enjoy and would watch again, when we've had cable, it's a movie I would stop if I found it on TV.
Okay.
It's not quite Eurotrip level, which anybody who knows us knows Eurotrip is a movie. If it's on, you must watch it.
Yep.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
But if I were to catch it, I would most likely stop because there are just so many scenes that are just funny and enjoyable for me that it lightens me up. So I would actually give it a 7.
Okay.
For you, I guess completely in the dark. I also guess that you would give it a 6.
You would be correct. Just like I said with yours it was funny. I would definitely watch it again. Wasn't the funniest movie I've ever seen, but it was better than the average comedy I've seen. With 5 being middle ground. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and I'm so sorry. As Nick, I forgot to explain, there is a scale of 0 to 10 of how we grade it. 5 being the middle, 10 being the highest, and 0 being the lowest. So therefore, you have a definitive middle score of 5.
This is episode like 400, so I think they know that by now.
We have to assume that at any point we have new viewers, and they do not know this.
Subscribe to our Patreon.
Yes, click, subscribe, smash that bell, all that verbiage that gets,
I'm glad you say it, because I don't like it when they say that. So.
Yeah. But you gotta say it, Please comment as well, because comments do help with the algorithm.
Hit the thumbs up, comment, yell at me, yell at Lance, don't yell at me.
Yeah, yell at Lance. Lance loves to be yelled at.
I love to be yelled at, because I'm Lance. I could use the Ballastar voice.
I think he would get very upset with Ballastar voice. We'll save that.
Yeah.
We'll work that in somewhere else at another time. Shh. They'll never know.
So when the movie started out, one of the things I liked...
Oh, yes, we're getting into spoilers now. So if for some reason you've never seen the 2000 Brendan Fraser movie, Bedazzled, you might want to stop, go watch it, and come back.
It's 22 years old.
There could be people like you, Lance, who've never seen it.
There could be people watching this who weren't alive then.
This is true as well. But, you'll also find out that you probably have seen GIFs and memes of this movie without ever knowing it.
In fact, I have. Brendan Fraser with the long hair. But one of the things I liked is during the opening credits, they're just showing stock footage and they're putting sins on people. And without getting too much into, religious theory and all that, sin is not a thing I believe in.
Yeah.
But I don't believe in higher powers, but I like the framing of the movie. But some of those sins were not sins.
Oh, yeah.
Really, you're calling that a bad thing? Drink from the carton's going to send you to hell, really?
You never, talking during a movie definitely.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's a no brainer there. Yeah. So.
But those freeloading children, have them all.
Taking your infants into movie theaters, though.
I've got thoughts. I have thoughts.
I've been there.
I have friends with young children who recently had them. As a matter of fact, shortly before my birthday, and I have thoughts.
I've been to theaters with children and it not be a bad experience, but I've also been to theaters with children where the parents did not give a shit about anybody else.
And I mean, I could do a whole diatribe episode alone about theater etiquette and what is needed from both adults, children's, and
that'll be our spin-off show.
Yes, we should totally do that.
So we're just going to if we got access to their stuff, we're going to take over their channel.
Yeah. I mean, this is totally Nick and Lance.
Yeah.
No substitution going on here.
It's totally not April 1st today.
But, so, going back to the movie, I think the part of the movie that I think has always been the standout the most is the wishes. I mean, if you've never seen this movie is about Brendan Fraser's character, who is the epitome of desperate. Not only for love and affection, but for friendship.
So I was taking some notes, and the movie's a little dated.
Yes.
But my first notes about Brendan Fraser's character was he's a nerd.
Yes. and not in the good way.
Yeah. And then it got to he's more than a nerd. He's a stalker nice guy.
Yes.
And not in a good way either.
No.
I mean, you know me. You know how I feel about the devil as a literature character.
Yes.
I'm a fan. I was rooting for the devil the whole time. So,
yes. I can't say that I wasn't. I mean,
nothing against Brendan Fraser. I enjoyed, this movie really did kind of show his range as an actor.
This movie is wonderful for showing that, because before this movie, he had, I think the first Mummy movie had come out. I'm not exactly sure on that, but most of it were comedies, and they were a lot of screwball comedies and comedies where he was just doing characters, typically with Pauly Shore. And it was in a way that, it didn't really show much more of he's got good comedic timing. Yeah. And this one, you saw he was being the goofball and whatnot, but you got to see him explore so many different characters. I think it's the best film to show you his actual range.
Yeah. Well, then now I feel bad because what I'm about to say is against him. Well, not against him.
No, it's okay.
It's not against him. It's him next to Elizabeth Hurley, who is incredibly charismatic.
Oh, God,
yes. She stole every scene she was in.
Of course she does.
In the scenes that she wasn't in, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
But comparatively, it didn't hold up.
Yeah.
With those two in the same room. I mean, they worked well together.
Yeah.
So,
I think though there was supposed to be a dichotomy difference between them.
Most likely to show a power difference.
Yeah. And I think if you had put the Brendan Fraser you get in that last scene in his office in the room with her, that you might have seen a difference, because he turned it up in that very last scene with his coworkers, which we'll get into. But I agree. There is definitely she's 1,000 leagues above him. It's kind of like when people are clamoring to put A-list actors into TV shows, like when the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was on, and they were always clamoring to put Robert Downey Jr. As Iron Man in the show first couple of seasons. You can't do that, because he would destroy every scene he was in, and it would be great for him, but it would totally just undercut the cast of the show in a way that you're going to really see how much difference there is. Yeah. I mean, Coulson was in the movies and in the TV show, but not Iron Man. And there was a reason for that. They intentionally never tried to get those actors because you can't put him. You can barely... I think Samuel L. Jackson was in one episode, and he's going to eat the scenes with them. And you have to understand that. And so, if with this power difference between Elizabeth Hurley and Brendan Fraser, I think that had to have been intentional. Harold Ramis is too smart of a director to not have...
That was another thing. Did not realize it was a Harold Ramis movie.
I didn't either, actually, until we went to rewatch it. But I love Harold Ramis.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's one of the greatest minds in comedy and just thinking outside the box of so many movies, a lot of comedy. So it was...
Did he... I know he directed it. Did he write it as well?
Yes, he was one of... Him and like two other people I wasn't paying anything, but he was part of the writing team. And he was also, I think, it was one of his production company as well. So he was involved on many layers of this. So I have a feeling that he would have intentionally done that because he's worked with so many people of varying talents that he would know that if you've got an actor who's going to eat scenes and you are going to cast someone as your lead who doesn't carry that charisma, is that intentional? It has to be.
It would have to be because he is charismatic. Yeah. Like with... The following he has, especially nowadays, on Twitter, it's always the Brendan Fraser, bring back Fraser or whatever. I don't.
Yeah.
But like the Mummy movies wouldn't have been popular if he wasn't charismatic. I'm sure he I haven't seen them obviously, so I'm sure he's a charismatic actor. So you're right. It must have been an intentional choice to make Elizabeth Hurley that much more charismatic versus him, just to show that dynamic.
I mean, because let's compare it, because we know for a fact that Mike Myers as Austin Powers is not the most charismatic character, and we saw Elizabeth Hurley in scenes with him. Yeah. But because of how campy Austin Powers is, it balanced it in a way. So the first Austin Powers I think came out before this too, because that was really kind of where you really started seeing Elizabeth Hurley on scene. I'm sure she had films and whatnot before then. Please don't, get on us if I don't know those because, don't have a deep dive on her in front of me. But, that's where most of us know her. She was the first Bond girl in Austin Powers.
Well, we're kind of, I mean, the whole point of the show is we're kind of the everyman. We're not the people who follow Hollywood news all the time. We get movies through popular culture and we watch them through popular culture. Yeah. So when we recognize, that Elizabeth Hurley from this, it's because that's where most of the people probably recognize
Speaking of popular culture, I will say I was delighted for my friend Amber when I saw that Cooper from Private Practice was one of the main actors in this film, because Cooper is a wonderful character from Private Practice. I am so saying this for my friend Amber as Nick because, fake doctor all the way.
I don't think anybody knows what... Fake doctor's not the real show name.
Yeah, but you know what? They don't need to... That's a send-in thing. That's it's like Fake Doctor and Murder Channel. They don't need to know those names. If they cannot figure that out from context, what those are, maybe they don't need to know.
Tim wants to talk to Amber about... one of the episodes of Fake Doctor recently, but we'll do that later.
Oh, okay.
Or they'll do that later.
Yeah, they'll do that later.
It was like an hour of Maggie suffering, and it was fantastic. Anyway.
I know exactly what episode you're talking about. Okay. I mean, Nick doesn't know, but Amber knows.
Wonder how long we can keep that up.
Not very, because we both called each other by the wrong name already. I wonder if they realize what they let us do.
So you're right. The wishes, back to Bedazzled, the wishes were the best part of the movie. I mean, it felt like the movie, it was obviously designed around the wish scenes. It was a little sketch comedy, basically.
Yes, and they're great. They are all great in their own ways.
Yeah, and then, even the ending... because early 2000s movie comedy, you got to tack on a happy ending, but it felt very tacked on.
It totally.
It's like, we finished this, and okay, we're done. Put a big ribbon on it. They all fall in love. Congratulations, happy endings everywhere.
Yeah, it would totally have the Hollywood ending, and 2000s hadn't quite learned that you can get away with it. There were some films, but this was not ever going to fall in that.
No, but with the way popular culture and Hollywood has progressed over the years, if this was remade, this would be a dark comedy.
Oh yeah,
Like,
no,
absolutely.
We should really petition people to remake this in a good way. You know, not in the let's disparage Harold Ramis's memory way, but in a good way, because oh my God, could you imagine how wonderful a dark comedy this would be
with Brendan Fraser as the devil?
That would be a wonderful twist.
It might be, people would accuse it of being a gimmick.
Yeah,
but it could be good, depending on who you got to write it.
Yeah, no.
Jordan Peele. No, I'm kidding.
No, let's do it.
He's comic. He's funny. He's scary. So
yeah, I know. He's one of the most brilliant horror writers that we've had recently, for cinema at least.
But probably not his type of movie. Like,
you never know. I've seen a lot of Key and Peele sketches.
Yeah. No, but with his career, he's trying to
distance
accomplish
himself.
something specific. And,
yes,
and I appreciate what he's doing.
No, totally. But with the Key and Peele background, this is totally in their wheelhouse. Yes. Let's just be real.
Absolutely.
But back again to the movie. So I knew where all the wishes were going as they came on. So I'd like to actually go through each wish with you to see what you kind of were thinking. So the first one, when he wishes... Oh, wait. Go ahead.
I was going to say, which first one are you going with?
Okay, we'll start with the first one.
The first wish was for a Big Mac and a Coke, which shouldn't count. He hadn't signed a contract yet. I disagree with the movie on that one.
Well, you would be in Team Elliot then, because remember, he was arguing that
absolutely.
was...
And she didn't do anything. She made a bus show up. That's not what he wished for. Like, the bus showed up. They drove to McDonald's.
But then again, the purpose of the movie was to show that any wish could be twisted. And if you have never read or dealt with in role-playing games, fairies or genies or anything that can grant a wish, you should know that whatever you wish for, they will find a way to twist your words. And he did not ask for her to buy that. And it did. One thing that was never pointed out in the contract, and it may have been in the contract, that thing looked like it was about 1,000+ pages. It could have had stipulated that any wishes granted hereto and before the signature also counted against that. But he never read it to find out if that first wish counted or insisted that wish didn't count. It's not like the Aladdin where he's like, I bet you can't get us out of here. And he kind of worked around because he never said, I wish. Yeah, but he did technically say it. So there's some pedantic language there.
But Aladdin had already rubbed the lamp, so that counts as
activating
the contract. He had not signed he had made no agreement. You're right. We didn't get to read the contract.
I know. It's like 1,000+ pages.
Yeah, I would have. Like, if presented with the opportunity, one, I would sell my soul in a heartbeat. Because I'm not using it. It's dead. So, but two, I would read the contract.
Oh, yeah. You don't sign things blindly when it comes to important stuff.
Are we calling this a YouTube show or a podcast?
I think it's a YouTube.
Don't take legal advice from a YouTube show.
Yeah,
I stole that from a podcast I listen to. Don't take legal advice from a podcast.
Yeah.
So, credit to Opening Argument so they don't sue us.
Yeah. So, but I mean, again, we don't know what was in the pedantic language of a contract. They could have stipulated that all wishes granted before actual signature.
And she is the devil, and the devil would probably be a lawyer.
Yeah, so, totally. Can't fault her for that.
But anyways, let's go back to
wish number 2.
Yes.
So what did you think of wish number 2, to be rich, powerful, and married to Allison?
So I saw where that one was going because I believe I remember it from the trailer.
Okay.
I believe that was revealed, and it's one of the few things I remembered about the movie. I didn't rewatch the trailer before we saw this movie. I'm like, oh yeah, I vaguely remember that movie in my head, or I remember seeing a reference to it or something. And so I knew where the Colombian drug lord was going, but it was a good way to monkey paw that wish.
Yeah.
When he's like, I wish I was married to her. You didn't wish she loved you. You didn't wish like she was.
And
happy.
You didn't stipulate how you were rich or powerful.
Yeah. Which is, we can get in after we discuss these. We can get into what we would wish for.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like, there's a wish that it would be so obvious that nobody ever chooses. But we'll get into that.
Yeah. World peace.
So it took me a minute because I didn't realize in the opening scene or near the beginning of the movie when he goes and meets his coworkers at the bar.
Yeah.
And then the coworkers, they all show up in each of the wishes.
Yes. Not all of them, because
No.
sometimes the girl was missing and
Yeah.
sometimes the guy playing Cooper is missing. Those were two that I've noticed weren't in every wish. The girl mostly.
So I didn't catch on to the fact that they were the coworkers until a couple wishes in.
Okay.
So I thought they were like demons working for her.
Yeah.
And so like I was.
Well,
watching...
but you could technically make the argument that maybe they were. Did you see the name of his company? His company was named Syndine, and it was spelled S-Y-N, and all the logos were S-Y-N. Sin. Every single one.
I did not
and
pick
that
up
the
on that.
Diablos was the
Yeah.
was the team in LA, and there was so much
And
that they were
little
showing
devil references
all over
the car
it.
she
So,
drove. All
yeah.
the
The billboard across in the back that
Yeah.
was clearly a reference to the snake in the Garden of Eden. So I'm just saying, like, you could make the argument, and as someone who knows people who are corporate wage slaves at times, that perhaps, you know, there could be an argument made that sometimes when you're a cog in the wheel, that you're a cog in the wheel in something greater or more
or eviler.
Yeah.
I got an old punk rocker soul inside of me. My teenage punk rocker never went away. So
Yeah.
like down with the corporations. But it's non sequitur, but you brought up the scene with the billboard and they're in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And she's got that brandy and catches on fire and then tosses it in the car. I was watching that fire and I'm like, that's such a fake fire until it became real fire. And then I was like, okay, they actually burned something, but. I have a degree in fire, and like I was watching the fire.
I mean, Lance doesn't have a degree in fire, but he has a good friend who does have a degree in fire and has been teaching Lance on the side.
Yeah.
Not an arsonist. Not an arsonist.
No arson. Pinky swear. So. No arson.
No arson. But okay, back to so you saw where the spin for the Colombian drug lord, but I mean it was still amusing, a little over the top.
Yeah, and my favorite bit of that was the language bits.
Yeah.
Where he spoke Spanish and then he spoke Russian and he didn't know it, but he was just speaking it. Yeah. And those were the funniest bits of that one for me. I appreciated that.
I personally feel like even though the Colombian drug lord bit is probably the longest wish, that it's probably the weakest one that resonates with me because it's amusing, but
yeah. Well, I think the purpose
it's not
of that
as
one,
funny.
Yeah, the purpose of that one was to establish, I think, the tone of how the rest of them were going to go.
Yes, it's to show the way that each wish is going to be twisted.
And so it was longer because it started out with him thinking everything was good.
Yeah.
And then it took the turn. After that, the other wishes didn't have to establish that. They're like, this is bad immediately.
Yeah.
And it made sense. One of the things I was disappointed with, and it might be, I mean, if we would have done some research after we watched the movie, maybe somebody smarter than me has put it together, but I'm like, 7 wishes, 7 deadly sins. Like, each wish can represent a deadly sin. I just haven't put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah, no, that would be very interesting. Definitely something that Amber would probably really enjoy. That sounds like something that's up her alley.
Although, like, I don't think it fits with this movie. It's not something they were going for because in the President wish, I don't think it fits.
No. But okay.
Pride, maybe.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, no, totally. So after you have the Colombian drug lord, we segue into finding the little bit of a pervert peeping Tom. There's so many scenes in this that just would not track well if you shot it scene for scene.
It didn't age well.
Yeah, there are scenes that definitely don't age well, but
especially the CG.
Yeah, but that'd be something that would be great to.
So there's a scene. It's later in the movie, but they're standing in her office.
Yeah,
and
you can totally see she's green screened.
Yeah, yeah. It was right before they went to hell.
Yeah,
and like the office is a real set, and they're in the real set, and then at some point you could tell they are on a green screen, and that is no longer the real set. It was very obvious.
Yeah, it was. It totally was.
And so I knew something was going to happen because I could tell. I'm like, okay, they're not standing right there. Something's going to change here.
Yes. But with after he goes and they do some investigative work to discover what Allison truly wants after, reading her journal in a very, very wrong scene, you end up finding out, she wants a sensitive man. And segueing into probably my favorite wish of all of them that he does, just because I absolutely love it. I do like that he caught himself to have to specify it needed to be emotionally sensitive because there are all sorts of wrong things that went through my mind of if he did not make that specification.
So as far as the scene, looking at him as sketches, that was one of the funnier ones. Worst wish. That is the worst worded wish. Nobody would fall for that. like they would word that completely different. I want to be the most emotionally sensitive man in the world, or whatever he said. Like, that is a terrible idea.
but as terrible as it was, it played out so wonderfully. Yeah. This is one of the ones that you've definitely most likely seen a gif of, because it's the one where Brendan Fraser is going
to the sunset.
To the sunset. And there is
every time he would look at the sunset and cry, it made me laugh.
And to this day, I have watched Amber and Lance every time they need to mock something that's just supposed to be sensitive, that they go in an over the top dramatic fashion, because it's hilarious. It's like saying NARP after watching Hot Fuzz. Oh. It's like, it's just something that stuck with us, or them. It's just so great. But he's so in tune with his emotions and into all of the stuff about saving the world and protecting the planet and the arts and creatives. And there's so many wonderful aspects about it, but he's just smothering her with being too sensitive towards her needs.
And there was,
there's no balance.
Well, we've dated for 3 weeks, and I love you more than anything. 3 weeks? Really?
Hold on there.
Yeah. But also,
hold on. You're not a Disney princess.
Also, they present that, and then in another wish, we'll talk about it, but they present the man as having emotions as something that's problematic.
Yes.
And I was
again, something that hasn't aged very well, because we are working towards fixing toxic masculinity and the oppression of emotions in men. But in the way that this scene plays out,
it was funny.
It's so funny.
Because it was over the top. It was very tongue-in-cheek. They obviously weren't...
Mayonnaise.
I swam with dolphins once on an accident. So,
I'm so glad to know that you got out of that alive. I've heard horror stories, and I've shared them with people about dolphin underwater caves, and that's the best way I can put it without it possibly getting us an R rating, my love.
So, I was trying. I don't know if we usually cuss on this channel.
I think Lance normally does, but I think Nick tries to keep it PG. So I try to keep PG, and you kind of go off.
I think I'm 2 episodes behind. I think Tim's 2 episodes behind on watching them.
Yeah.
But he doesn't remember. But no, for Tim's birthday, he was up in somewhere. He was swimming. It was in Virginia Beach, I think. Oh. And we were in the ocean, and dolphins 5 feet away just kind of swims by, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Or he was like, no, we're not keeping that up.
Yeah, that's totally not.
But okay, what was after the sensitive? I wrote them all down.
So after the emotionally sensitive one is the second greatest one, in my opinion, where he wishes to be a professional basketball player. And oh my god, that's another one that gets quoted very often in my presence. I think we did good. We played good. We gave 110%.
I liked the portrayal of just the big dumb athlete. I think it's, again, a stereotype.
This movie thrives on stereotypes.
Yeah,
I mean, did you see the Colombian drug lord?
Yeah.
I mean, the racial stereotyping in that wish, you definitely could not play that one exactly that way.
As going back to the Colombian drug lord, as somebody who is the keeper of a fine mustache, you ripping it off like that was too far. Too far.
I don't think I understand.
but yeah, the basketball one, it was one of the shorter ones.
Yeah.
But it was funny, and the twist on that one, I didn't feel like it was fair, because it had nothing to do with what he wished for. She just added...
So there's an implication in that wish, in my opinion.
Okay.
There's an implication of testosterone abuse, steroid abuse.
Okay.
And to become big and strong and to be dominating, it implies that to be at the top of the game and dominate so much that he has taken in steroids, and it is a known side effect. In case you didn't know, that steroid abuse will shrink your testicles and make your junk small. So, don't do it. Don't do it.
I could see that implication. I didn't think about it watching the movie. I don't think it was obvious.
I've had a lot of talks with Amber and Lance about hormone replacement therapy because they've done a lot of research into that for their own personal reasons. But so there's a lot of information that they're privy to. So it just one of the things that happened to jump into my mind.
But still, I think if the whole idea of the movie and the wishes is the monkey paw scenario, I think they need to be a little more clever with the way they wrote the wishes and how she screwed them up.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, oh, I want to be rich and powerful. It's like, okay, but you're in a coma. Like, it's like, really? Like, that's lame.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's not the greatest one, but it's emasculating. And again, going back to the fact that this is before we're trying to be a little bit more, to steal the phrase, woke about certain topics and to fight back against toxic masculinity, showing an emasculation of him having teeny tiny, little itty bitty. The words they use suggest that it's a huge emasculation, and where I know many men don't appreciate that as a they do have a serious problem with that. It might be a little bit more tongue in cheek.
He might have been a grower. He didn't give it a chance.
Yeah, and actually another thing that popped in my head, especially because of his size, and it's a legitimate condition, and I don't think they get that tall, but it could. Klinefelter syndrome is a legitimate genetic disorder that affects a large number of men, and it does cause them to could have micro penises and
sterility,
and they would actually have to use testosterone for hormone replacement therapy, and they tend to be larger. In the sense that they get lankier and they tall, and they can be a little bit lanky amongst some of the other conditions. So it is possible, but I would think they would have had to have stipulated that because you lose muscle tone when your testosterone development stops. So.
I don't think that was what the writers had.
No, I don't think so too.
But it would fit. Yes.
I think if they were to remake that movie, that would be a nice way to kind of redo it if they wanted to suggest that. But again, they would need to put a little bit more forethought into the monkey paw wishes.
Yeah. And I love monkey paw stories. I love Frosty and Bargains. And it's all.
It's one of the best episodes of Rick and Morty.
Which one? Rickful Things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
I think.
Dude, Buff Rick and Summer. That's where it's at.
So I read Needful Things not too long ago. Yeah. And never saw the movie. I heard the movie's terrible. But,
I don't think I've seen the movie.
Okay. Well, I'm not a huge reader anymore. I used to be. But,
weirdly, I'm not a big reader.
As I've gotten older,
I don't have time for it. It's my problem. My time to read has shrunk so much.
You understand the life I'm living right now.
Yes.
And my free time is non-existent. It has been for 2-3 years for obvious reasons that we won't say because YouTube doesn't like the word. But I've switched to audiobooks because I can listen to them like podcasts. I can when I'm cooking, when I'm driving to work, and the way my brain absorbs information, to me, it's the same thing as reading.
Yeah.
Because of the way my learning style, and so I can listen to it or I can read it, and my brain interprets it the exact same.
Yeah, I actually think I probably should look into audiobooks. I just am very resistant to it just because there's something about sitting back and reading that's something I really love.
Yeah. Oh,
but
absolutely.
I don't have, one of the things that actually has been the major drawback for me reading is my favorite time to read was always right before bed. And I don't have a lamp in my room. And as much as I have ebooks, I prefer an actual book.
I don't mind ebooks. I like owning physical books. I go to the used bookstore. I buy leather-bound collector's editions of these old books that I love. I've got Don Quixote, and I found Dante's Divine Comedy the other day.
Wow.
It's sitting in my car right now. Old leather-bound. It's so good. And I should probably take it out my car.
Yeah, you definitely want to because of the leather in this, especially with it getting warmer.
I've got a leather-bound copy of Paradise Lost. I've got a leather-bound copy of Mice and Men. Just like some of my favorite books.
Yeah.
And like I'm not a collector. I just like having them because I enjoy the stories.
No, and I think if I got a lamp for a room, I don't want like one of those book lamp lights either. I want a lamp. I want to be able to reach over and go click.
You got a ring lamp.
But I don't have one right now.
No, that was a tangent. We're good at this.
Yeah, I know. It's like we were called in Andes at one point or not.
Speaking of being well-read and educated.
Yes. So after finding out that he was a dumb athlete with a small penis, Brendan Fraser's next wish was to be smart, rich again. He did throw rich in again. Articulate, well-spoken, because he didn't want to say 110% again, I guess. And then he also wanted Allison to fall madly in love with him. His words, madly in love with him.
And then he wanted a big penis as well.
Yes, he did say that. And they very subtly referred to that.
He
a gentle shift.
Yeah, shifted his crotch once and never referred to it again.
Yep,
I guess they'd played the dick jokes out at that point.
Yes.
So,
but honestly, I feel like of all the wishes, probably maybe should have kept that one.
Yeah, wasn't
that one was another one where it's like, was the turn really that horrible? Yeah, you don't get the girl that you wanted that was madly in love with you, but you're well spoken.
Yeah.
You're articulate. You're smart. You're successful.
He was so the one comment like they didn't really get into, but when the two girls are talking about him, she goes, I don't know what to say, and goes, he'll talk about himself.
Yes.
It came across as he's very arrogant and pompous. I'm sure if I was that smart and that whatever, I probably would too, but I mean, that could be seen as a negative thing.
I have been around a lot of people who believe that they're smarter than me, who are like that.
Yeah. No.
I've been subtly accused of that a few times, but I do try to rein it back.
Yeah.
I have a problem that when I'm passionate about something, I do want to just inject.
Absolutely.
But also, I've heard from my friend Amber before that as a woman, sometimes you have to speak a little bit more forward because otherwise you will get overspoken, especially if you are a woman of above average intellect. Yeah. So you kind of have to push and make your voice heard. Otherwise you get overspoken. So sometimes I have to be more forward when it's something I enjoy. Otherwise I will just get she will just get barreled over.
Amber is one of the legit smartest people I've ever met, and she plays it back a lot, and I know that. And
I think so too.
Yes. Not to toot her horn or anything, but anyways, the turn for this wish was
he's gay.
He had everything he wanted, but he was gay, and that was too much. Like I'm like that's problematic. Like
it's totally problematic. Again, it's part of the turns that has not aged well. But in 2000s,
it was a punchline.
Again, it's an attack against the toxic masculine culture that has existed. But
so
and again we go into the emasculation because a lot of men do find it emasculating if they were to fear is if they were to be gay that somehow makes them less of a man.
But there was a lot of like you said toxic masculinity and problematic things, and the movie could have made a point about that, but they didn't. They used them as punchlines.
Yes. And
so I don't feel they were going for that message against that kind of thing.
No, they weren't. And I think we're addressing those points from the cushy nature of 2022, not 2000. 2022.
Yeah.
In 2000,
we're judging
Amber
the movie on
and Nick
current
were 17
standards.
and 18, so
And Lance was like 50.
Yeah.
So,
old man.
2000. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're looking at a culture where it was still okay to make those jokes. And I'm not saying that we don't need to do better now, but I think it's okay to look back and go, this hasn't aged well, but for what it was doing based on its time, it doesn't necessarily make it bad. And I think that there's too much push in one direction and saying, well, this is just a clear example of how these people are awful because they allowed to have these punchlines. No, being gay is still a punchline, unfortunately. Yeah. And sometimes it's coming from their own communities.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's the guy who used to be on, what's it called? The one where the four guys go and better off somebody else.
Queer Eye?
Yeah, and then he went on to like kind of, I can't remember his name, but it's the blonde one. He does some cooking shows now where he's like a celebrity judge, and
I have no idea.
I think it's Carson or something like that. But
the only one I know from that was Ted Allen, but I don't even know him from that. Apparently, he was in early seasons.
But you know, there's still so many of their prominent celebrity people who still kind of use their gayness as a punchline. And I'm not knocking that, and I'm not suggesting that's good, and I'm not saying that they aren't trying to better their community, but we're still in this kind of weird flux of trying to have these different generations find the appropriate way to meet on these ideas.
Tolerances do change over time.
Yes.
Look at Revenge of the Nerds. That is the rapiest comedy I've ever seen. Super problematic. Probably never watch it again. But at the time, that was what humor was.
I watched Revenge of the Nerds so many times as a little kid that probably says a lot about me.
But like you can't apply modern standards to.
Did you know that Goose from Top Gun was in Revenge of the Nerds?
No, I did not know
Anthony
that.
Edwards is one of the people in Revenge of the Nerds.
I found out recently that Sloth from Goonies was a professional football player who's won 2 Super Bowls.
Really?
Yep.
I just know he doesn't actually look like that underneath all that makeup.
Well, that's why I looked him up. I was like, never thought about it because it's Sloth. Like,
yeah, you know, actually, a good friend gave me a Goonies sticker because Vernon knew that I was a big Goonies fan, and he won some free Goonies.
He was he played for the Raiders. Won 2 Super Bowls for the Raiders. And
that had to be back in like the 90s.
I don't know. You're the sports person here. Like, you can look it up later.
Yeah, no, actually, I think that's Amber.
Amber's the sports person. Nick's not the sports balls. So
no sports balls.
Yes. So anyways, going back to Josie and the Pussycats. Sorry, I had to throw it in there.
But so going back to the Wish, apart from the fact that it's not a good judge of how we would view it today, and they could have found a different way of, everyone's friends with him, but it's a superficial way, which probably have resonated a little bit better because they kind of want to cling to his success, but they're not really interested in him.
They could have done it where, after the party, everybody leaves and he realizes how alone he is.
Yeah, and that would have been probably a stronger one than the punchline of he's gay. Yeah. But that's not to say that it wasn't. But
the movie's a comedy.
Yeah, and again, that would make a better dog comedy. But if you were to look at the way of that wish was probably the nicest thing she gave him out of everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
He looked fantastic in that suit. He was articulate. I love that fact that Orlando Jones suddenly put on the most pompous accent that he could possibly think of. And I did not talk about Orlando Jones yet, and he was been fantastic throughout this movie. I think my favorite part was when he was the sports commentator. He was fantastic as the sport commentator.
I liked him in just the Colombian. He's just got the cocaine hanging out of his face the whole time.
Yeah, that is some walk hard comedy right there with
Never saw it.
You've never seen Walk Hard?
No, I know the song, the duet song, because they used to sing at karaoke, but never saw the movie. And then I know the scene with the marijuana, because I've seen that clip 1,000 times, because it's hilarious. That's all I've seen.
I hear that, Amber's not a big fan of that movie, but that Tim would be very disappointed to know that Lance hasn't seen Walk Hard. So just keep that in mind.
Who's the main actor in that?
I always...
John C. Reilly?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like the...
Mr. Cellophane. Mr. Cellophane. Wrong movie.
Yeah,
sorry.
you were like, nobody watching this knows him from that.
I do.
Tim does.
I do.
But that seems like the kind of actor Lance would like a lot.
Oh, no. You totally love John C. Reilly. One of your favorite actors. And I should note, I've heard you comment about how he was one of your favorite songs in Chicago. Other than Razzle Dazzle. Yeah. I do believe Razzle Dazzle is your favorite, but Mr. Cellophane is up there.
Tim or Lance?
Lance's.
Okay. Yeah, Tim's too.
Yeah.
Like, and the
Amber's,
Gun and
I know
and
at least
Somewhat
Amber.
Pingo and, like,
All the songs are just kind of bangers. So, we could do a whole thing about just musicals and how awesome their songs are. I actually, well, I don't know. Okay. Nick might not be. No, Nick. I think I speak for Nick and Amber at the same time when saying that we should do some more musical reviews because musicals are awesome, and we should just do them not because nobody at the table has seen them, but because more people need to see them and more people need to appreciate the beauty that goes into both acting and singing and dancing all at once.
Tim and Nick have been friends for 26 years. Watched a lot of musicals together.
Yeah.
Musicals are great. I enjoy them. It's a different way to tell a story. Some people are like, oh, I don't get musicals. It's like, well, if you have a movie and you've got 8 people talking at the same time, it's all jumbled and garbage. If you have a musical and 8 people singing at the same time, it's harmony. Yeah. It's just a different way to tell a story.
And you know what the beautiful thing is? In Canto, all of the songs were written as if they were a musical. And I think that's why there are so many songs that have so many different parts featuring all the different characters, is because
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel Miranda. I am so sorry.
He's going to unsubscribe now.
I know. I'm so sorry. But he has a foundation in writing for musicals, so I think he used that foundation when writing music for Encanto. Not to get off tangent, but I just think that it's very important that people know that, and also going on the fact that that Tim and Nick have both watched musicals for a very long time. Amber and Lance, I hear, have also watched musicals for a very long time and do try to go see them frequently when they can. Because they both have separate foundations in enjoying musicals and have learned to enjoy them together.
That's good. Hamilton's coming to Charleston.
I know. I still haven't actually watched on Disney Plus.
Yeah, it's not bad. Like,
it's
super catchy.
I think part of it was just like the super hype on it just made me resistant.
I understand that.
And it's not resistant in the way that I never want it. It's just like, I'll get to it when I get to it.
It's not Shrek.
Yeah. No, Shrek is terrible. I won't watch it. I can't.
How can you say it's terrible if you haven't seen it? I agree with you that it's terrible.
I say that because it was ruined for me. When you have an ex who completely spoils the entire movie before you ever even watched it, and you're like, and then you're watching at the same time, the 2 lead actors acting in such a buffoonish manner to promote it. It's like, but they're not their characters. They're themselves on set for, I think, the MTV Movie Awards or something like that, and they're just acting. They were so funny. It's like, bring it down. That's not selling me, who's, I'm a little bit older than your target audience, but your target audience for Shrek probably wasn't watching the MTV Movie Awards. So I am more of the people you're trying to attract, and you're just turning me off because I was getting to the point where I was a little growing out of that screwball comedy and like more lowbrow humor, and I was but I was also getting ready. I was starting college, so I was in a state of flux.
Let me ask you a question. It's the perfect question to ask during a review of a Brendan Fraser Wish Devil comedy.
Okay.
What's your favorite Michael Myers movie? What's his best one?
So are we saying Michael Myers as the actor or Michael Myers as the villain of
the actor? Because we were just talking about Shrek.
Okay, I'm just clarifying because
it's not a complete non sequitur.
Mike Myers is a villain in a horror series, so you do need to make sure that you differentiate, because for the longest time before I really understood that, I was like, why does he got the same name as the villain? But my favorite Mike Myers film, I probably have to. I probably the first Austin Powers, and that's just because I was never a big Wayne's World fan. Yeah, I never watched the one about marrying an axe murderer.
That's my favorite one. So.
I've never seen that one. I didn't watch The Love Guru.
Oh yeah, no, nobody did.
Yeah, and
that'd be a good one for the show, because nobody has ever seen it.
That's right. And I honestly would say it was the first Austin Powers more because of Seth Green than because of Mike Myers.
Yeah.
Buffy.
Yeah.
Buffy,
That's
Seth
all that
Green.
needs to be said. I understand.
Yeah. So those are the most important things. So, but getting back to the...
Yeah, let's tie this one back. Go ahead. Let's try that.
So, since we're talking about Mike Myers, which means, and the first Austin Powers movie does have the wonderful, and salacious Elizabeth Hurley. So let's go segue back to Elizabeth Hurley in this movie.
Yes, please.
So Elizabeth Hurley, screwed up that wonderful wish just by making him gay. And so then, of course, he aborts out of that one. And then after that, then it's time to, he's like, he wants to do something for people. He's been too selfish with his wishes. He needs to do something for other people. So he wants to be the president of the United States of America. And
I think that was the most clever turn. Like, that was the best one.
Yeah, that was the one where she didn't try to like just sit there going, okay, give him anything else. She just put him straight into Lincoln as he's going to go see my American cousin. So anybody who knows their U.S. history knows that he's literally probably got like 20 minutes to live.
It was the shortest of the wishes. I also thought it was probably the funniest and the cleverest of them.
Yeah.
But again, that's you don't have to drag it out at that point. We're so far into the movie, they could afford to just waste one like that. But it was gold.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And then, of course, he
Sic Semper Tyrannis.
Yeah, John Wilkes Booth shows up. He gets him to pause long enough so he can page 666 to get out of there, and then lets him shoot him, and then he pops back, and then that's when the argument over how many wishes he's actually used comes up, because she's insisting he's used 6 because of the previously mentioned McDonald's wish, whereas he argues that did not count.
I know the whole thing is the devil in the details, but I still like.
I feel like you could make a valid and convincing argument either way, and depending upon what sect of judges have been nominated to the U.S. Supreme Court, you probably will lose.
Let's not get that started. That's a different YouTube channel there. I think my problem with that would have been solved with a single line of dialogue.
Yeah.
It could have been, and maybe they'd had it. Maybe it got cut.
It could have
but
been.
I think that would have solved one of the big issues I had with the film, besides the problematic stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, obviously some things are problematic. It's not going to keep me from watching the movie again. It was funny. I liked it. It was very tongue in cheek. I know Harold Ramis isn't, sexist, racist, whatever. Like it was just that style of humor.
Yeah, and at the time, all of that humor was appropriate. It was not inappropriate. And again, that goes to the fact that things that were inappropriate 20 years or appropriate 20 years ago may not be appropriate now, but that does not mean we should attack people, because unless they are continuing that kind of discourse and dialogue today and have not grown, then we shouldn't attack them for whatever they may have perpetuated then, because we as people should be allowed to grow, change, and develop and evolve. And I feel like there is not enough latitude given to people these days. Of you find about that one sin in your past where in today's light it looks horrible, but if you use the lens of the time of when it was done, was it actually horrible? Now, we're not talking about hate crimes or atrocities that would be committed or anything of that, but the way we view in language of tolerance.
The cultural zeitgeist. It was accepted
changes
by the culture, and it's changed. And is it problematic? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is it harmful? Maybe. I mean, maybe now.
It would totally be harmful now.
I mean, maybe then, too.
Yeah.
Maybe they shouldn't have to have been the butt of the joke for so long. But they were, and we can't change that.
No.
We can just do better going forward.
Yeah. And I feel like there is a strong movement that is trying to perpetuate more positive images going forward. But just to not necessarily in defense of the problematic nature of certain aspects of this film, it's just to state that if it wasn't problematic in the cultural zeitgeist, perhaps we can't just be, we can't go and attack Brendan Fraser for shouting the word what was it? a flaming homosexual. I believe he screamed at his computer at one point.
Yeah, but I mean, even then, like he did that as a character in a movie. If he did that on Twitter 10 years ago and it just came up, I'd be like, yeah, that's a little problematic.
But does he use that language now? And it's not to say that should you take a moment to, reflect and review and possibly apologize for past things, sure, but we shouldn't demonize and cancel them just because of it.
People change. They should be allowed to change to an extent. Some behaviors are unforgivable. Yeah. Let's talk about let's tie that into Christianity. No, I'm kidding.
Well, there was a major theme in this film. No, not really. It's kind of a framework, but not necessarily a theme.
The religious aspect of this movie, they created a world with a literal God and a literal devil, and then they never really did all of what that would imply.
Yeah.
They just said, "Oh, the devil's got magic powers." It's fun.
And God exists.
Yeah. Alleged. Well, no, they confirmed it.
No, they confirmed it. They confirmed it twice.
Yeah. Well, they
verbally
confirmed it once, and they heavily hinted at it a second time.
I think the second time was a pretty strong confirmation, considering it was the same guy in the jail cell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the verbal is she explicitly said, yes, he exists. Why does everybody ask about him? He's boring.
Yeah.
Which, I agree. I would hang out with the devil all the time.
Yeah.
I would.
But I mean, then you're getting into the implication of, which devil are you going with? Because there's the devil that's kind of popular in pop culture, but that doesn't reflect the devil or Lucifer that actually exists from both, the Bible and other ancient texts, and even those, everything changes. So you have 3 or 4 different ways that you could interpret them easily.
Most of what Christians believe about the devil come from outside of the Bible. It comes from Paradise Lost. It comes from Dante's Inferno.
Yeah.
Which oddly enough, I've just mentioned both of those earlier in the video. But also there's the whole idea of the romantic devil, romanticism, and it's the Lucifer was a victim of a narcissist. He gave knowledge to mankind, and he rejected authority, and
he fought for free will.
Yeah, and those are not bad qualities.
No.
It depends on what side of the story you're on.
Yeah, and again, it's you have the traditional red, horned demon that is the devil, that is a very popular icon.
Halloweeny, as she put it in the movie.
If you were to take the language for Lucifer from the Bible, and what he represents is he's a fallen angel, and therefore, he fell from heaven, and he's still a divine being that was angelic in nature. So he would not appear based on that unless he did something to deform himself. Now, I am not a scholar on the Bible. I have not deep delved into the Bible. My background is that, I was raised as a Catholic. I am not a current Catholic. I do not follow Catholic doctrine, and I don't read the Bible, but I do a lot of research, especially into these matters, just because I like to write. I like to do some of that, and I understand that one of the myths for Lucifer is that he's the fallen angel, and he's supposed to be beautiful.
I like a lot of Christian mythology as mythology, and we can go off on a tangent on the Lucifer beautiful thing, because there's a funny story involving that statue right there. But that's not for this video.
No, that's not for this video.
But
if you ever want to, have perhaps a deep dive into mythologies, whether they're religious mythologies or just folklore mythologies, let us know. We're your people, or Amber and Tim are probably your people.
Probably not a fit for this channel.
No,
but we can do spin-off channels.
Yeah, just just let us know here, and we could probably make it happen.
And like I said, we got.
I hear Amber likes research.
We got all their equipment. We can.
Because she's a nerd.
Like a Brendan Fraser at the beginning of the movie nerd, or like a cool nerd?
I would like to say a cool nerd, but probably more the Brendan Fraser one. Let's be real.
Okay, so that leads to the final wish, and the final wish was the Aladdin genie moment.
Yeah, Genie, I wish you free. Even though that's not this movie.
I'm going to do something completely selfless, and like I said, I felt like it was tacked on. Like, oh, we're done with our stuff. The movie needs to end. The devil would have been smarter than to include that in the contract. And I do not believe, in however long she said she'd been doing it, that this was the first time anybody has ever, unless she's just very careful about who she offers wishes to.
It could be that too. It looked like she had offered to quite a bit because she had quite the large filing cabinet.
But like, I do not believe he is the first person to ever make a selfless wish.
Yeah.
My first wish would probably be selfless, just because that's the type of person I am. I'm not saying I'm great in the ego. It's just I do things for other people. It's because it makes me feel better.
Yeah.
And so he wishes that the girl that he had never met and that he was stalker obsessed with has a good life. Like, this whole movie is kind of problematic when you realize, like, it's all to get the nice guy syndrome thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's to this girl who's never paid him attention, and he's literally...
but it kind of has a good payoff in regards to the fact that, he does grow, and he still doesn't get the girl.
Yeah.
And
I did like
that part about it, is he does not get the girl that he has been obsessively altering her life over in an attempt to win her.
But 5 seconds later, they introduce a new character played by the same actress that's perfect for him. So it was a little... tacky, cheesy.
But I mean, you don't watch this for the ending. You watch this for those wishes.
Yeah. So wishes. We obviously we can't go through. If you had 7 wishes.
No.
But what would like if you were presented with the steel? What's one of the first things you'd ever wish for? Like, because the devil in this movie clearly never gave him limits on his wishes.
No.
She never said, I can't do this, I can't do this. No. She said, anything you want.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think this is going to bring out the mom in me, and it would be just to wish for that my son has a happy and fulfilling life. I can't think of a better wish. I want the best for him, and if I had the power to wish him a happy and fulfilling life, I'm not asking for him to be rich. I'm not asking for him to be famous, because I don't know what that will entail. If he is happy and fulfilled, that's what I want for him, weirdly. So that's all I could. That's the first thing I could think to wish for, and I can't think of anything else.
That's really sweet, and it makes mine look really selfish. Omnipotence. Then I will have the power to do whatever I want. I would already know everything.
Oh.
And then I don't need her wishes anymore, because I would be omnipotent. Like, it's overpowering.
You know what?
I'd be
My second wish would be?
What?
For them to bring my dog Anya back as a puppy, and I could get a life with her, a second lifetime with her.
If I get my omnipotence, I will bring your dog back, because I will be all-knowing and all-powerful.
Because I miss that baby girl so much.
When my dog passes, it's going to be the same. He's never going to be replaced. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah.
Such a good dog. So any closing thoughts on the movie?
We got off on so many tangents. I don't know. I mean, I think that the movie, like I said, it's problematic if you look at it through your lens of 2022 and the ways that we've evolved as a society. But I think that it's a fun film. I think it can be enjoyable. And I think if you give it the latitude to kind of just accept the problematic natures of some of the parts of it as a product of its time and not necessarily trying to push that agenda, that you could enjoy it.
Allow it to be a product of its time. I think is an important part of that. And it's one of those things like I'm a big Lovecraft fan, and it's love the art, not the artist.
Yes.
Because I'm a big Lovecraft works fan. I'm not a big Lovecraft person fan.
Yes, and I do think there's an important distinction there. And if for some reason you are not aware, it is very widely known, especially in the horror community, which Lovecraft is considered one of the founding fathers of, that he is a terrible, terrible racist. Yeah, and there's no other way you can't mince words. He was a racist.
Yeah, if anything you need to know about him as a person, just Google Lovecraft cat's name, and then that tells you everything you need to know.
Yes.
Which I will not be saying here.
Yeah, but side note, tangent again. He is one of the progenitors of the horror genre. But do you know who is technically the founder of science fiction?
I do know Mary Shelley.
Yes, and she is never given credit
Nope,
for
she
that
was-
in almost everything. She's normally overlooked by Orson Welles and other male authors.
19-year-old girl invented science fiction.
Yeah, so if you didn't know that bit of trivia, Mary Shelley wrote the novel Frankenstein. I never recommend reading that unless you want to torture yourself. I've read it about 5 times for scholastic reasons, and I've never enjoyed any of them. However, it does not detract from the fact that she did create the Frankenstein and his monster. It's important to note that those are 2 different people, and that she created the science fiction genre.
This is a good segue, but I want to add something about Mary Shelley in there. She was the original goth girl. She had her husband's heart. He died at like 29, and she had his heart wrapped in poetry in her desk drawer. Like she was
married a
goth.
famous poet, didn't she?
I think so.
Byron.
Lord Byron?
I think
No,
so.
I don't know. I can't confirm that. I don't know.
She was married to another very well-to-do poet. I don't know if he wrote novels. I think he was a poet. I think it was.
So, but this is a good segue to end it.
Yeah.
Speaking of horror and monsters.
Oh. Can't wait to see how this goes.
Lance, have you seen The Ritual?
Lance. You mean Nick?
Nick, have you seen The Ritual?
No, I haven't seen The Ritual. Lance?
2017 Netflix movie.
Oh, I have Netflix.
Yeah, you should watch
We are
it.
not sponsored by Netflix. Just so you know.
But we could be.
If you want. I mean.
It would have a sponsor warning, but Netflix, we're open. Give us a call. We don't have an email address. Just comment below.
Yeah, comment below. We know you have. We know you comment on videos. You have a Twitter. You comment. You engage. Engage.
Yeah, they have green light anything.
For at least one season.
Yeah. But yeah, when you watch it, it'll be very obvious why I chose this movie.
Okay.
Speaking of things that we've just spoken about.
Okay. Well, I'm very eager to watch The Ritual. So I guess we'll see you next time. This has been Nick.
And this has been Lance.
Have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, do they have a sign off?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do this. Peace.